Hello, entrepreneurs. I'm Kevin. Great to see you guys again. And today I want to cover The Right It by Alberto Savoia. And let me tell you, dang, do I wish I read this book 10 years ago. This is yet another golden foundational one. And it's all about how to validate your business idea, whether that is a new high tech idea or maybe a new restaurant idea that you want to introduce to your customers or patrons. And the framework that he outlines really works for everything, all types of businesses, products, and services. And the author breaks it down into super clear and linear logical steps. And on a high level, this includes how to set your hypothesis, how to use something called pretotyping, that he kind of invented this word to test your ideas in a very lean manner, how to gather your own data and why that's important, how to make your customers put skin in the game rather than just say, yes, I like it, how to evaluate results and then tweak based on those and iterate, test more, and either proceed forward or scrap it and go for something else, right? Anyways, as a quick teaser for you, here are my top 3 lessons I've learned from this book that are my favorite ones that I want to share with you. Number 1, execution alone is not enough, right? A lot of times you hear people say execution is what matters in a startup, but even the best execution, support, investors, and so forth won't equate to success because, as Alberto Savoia argues, the initial premise itself matters too. That means whether a market has a need or desire for such an idea. His book, The Right It, is all about how to quickly and easily test this initial premise of yours. Now, if you think about lesson number 1, this isn't a crazy concept, right? Because even some of the most powerful and experienced companies in the world have failed multiple times at different product launches or new ideas. And it wasn't their lack of resources, support, execution, experience, or understanding of the market, right? For example, Coca-Cola has launched new product lines like new soft drinks and so forth that have flopped. Even Google, which is amazing at internet products, have failed at a ton. You can go to like Google Graveyard, which is a website that shows all the ones that they scrapped, like Google Glass, Google Wave, and so forth. Even the author, who personally had a lot of prior startup success, but one time he built this company, recruited an amazing rock star team, had the best investors in the world, had everything going for him, but they failed and wasted a lot of money and 5 years of his time. So that's what brought him to analyze all the different failure cases of businesses and see why that's the case. And his conclusion was that the initial premise matters a lot as well. So lesson number 2 is to get away from something he calls thought land. And as you can imagine, this is like asking people for their opinions, which are pretty much worthless if you're trying to find out if your business is going to succeed in the market. How many times have people told you that an idea is a good idea and that they would use it, they would buy it, but they never did? It flopped when you launched the product, right? After you've spent a ton of time and resources on building it already. And even expert opinions are worthless, right? And those big companies I mentioned before, they had all the experts in the world getting paid a lot of money to share their expert opinion, but it still flopped even after they thought those products or ideas would be a great success. And on the flip side, some people may say your idea is a bad idea, but instead of giving it up, you should run these tests because it might be a good idea after all. People don't really know what they're talking about in thought land, or it's just worthless per se. Instead, you want to gather your own data via experiments rather than relying on other people's past data, which could have different circumstances, different timing and context that may not apply in your case, even if they did something or tried something similar. So when you're running these experiments on the market, you want to make people give you skin in the game, which makes it much more strong proof that your thing will or will not work. For example, Alberto Savoia says that likes and comments do not mean much. You want them to give you something valuable, like their email address, their phone number, their time, their money, their reputation. This is skin in the game. And the more people give you, the stronger that is, the more confidence you can have in your business idea. So you want to run these experiments in a really lean manner and do it at multiple different times and on multiple different levels to increase your confidence that you're building, quote, the right it. And finally, lesson number 3, there's a lot of lessons, but I want to keep this relatively concise for you, is the concept of pretotype versus the conventional prototype, right? Because pretotyping is an earlier phase in prototyping. Prototyping, you already have like fully designed it out and spend some valuable engineering resources to get it built. But pretotype is before that. You can kind of fake things in a way, like with a fake door test where you maybe have a button on a website and see how many people click it. But when they click it, it pops up and says not quite ready yet. Or maybe like you can put up a sign on an empty storefront and be like, this is the idea, and then see how many people knock on it by sitting across the street and watching them. There's also the Mechanical Turk. If you have a hardware product, you can like hide someone in the background and have them do the task manually and pretend like it already works. Just fake it with like noise of the machinery and so forth. Another one is Infiltrator, where you kind of infiltrate a business and pretend like you're the employee and pretend to sell your product there to see how many people are even interested in buying it. Another important part of prototyping is that you want to minimize your resources on all levels. You want to minimize time, distance, dollars spent, and all of those different metrics in order to get your data, right? You don't want to have to spend thousands of dollars, hours upon hours, days upon days, and so forth. You want it to be really lean, and you should be able to do that with all sorts of business ideas with the concept of prototyping. Then after you have a prototype defined, you want to zoom in, or what he calls hypozoom, to like something more accessible to you, whether it's locally on like an online community that you're already part of, or maybe like a business or school or a community in person that's close that you don't have to drive a long way to reach. That way you can get data super fast. You can get that data and then go from there in terms of tweaks and running your next prototyping experiment. So as you can see, this book is extremely valuable for all sorts of entrepreneurs. A huge part of what we do is innovation after all. And this is helping test and validate those innovation and those ideas. And this framework applies very broadly to all new ideas, no matter what it is. So whether you are a CEO of an investor-backed startup or a small business owner, you should read this book. Also, it's just really well written and concise, in my opinion. It offers clear explanations surrounding examples and discussions, and even includes an end-to-end example of how he would think through every step of his framework to show it all in action. The examples he gave makes a lot of sense and even helped me spark ideas for how to prototype some stuff I'm exploring. So that's all, folks. I hope this recommendation helps you out. This is Kevin, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.